Mafia the Old Country, my honest review. Is it worth playing? Welcome back to Warped Into Gaming. Today I'm sharing my thoughts on Mafia the Old Country after completing the game. This review will be completely spoiler free because I believe this is one of those games that's best experienced for yourself. Before getting into the details, I think it's important to understand exactly what kind of game this is. Mafia the Old Country is first and foremost a story-driven experience. If you're expecting constant action from beginning to end, you might find parts of the game a little slow. However, if you enjoy games that focus heavily on storytelling, character development, atmosphere, and immersion, then this game has a lot to offer. The story is easily one of the strongest parts of the experience. From the beginning, the game does a great job of pulling you into its world and make you interested in the characters and what's happening next. There were many times where I finished a gaming session and immediately wanted to continue because I was curious to see where the story would go. That being said, the pacing isn't perfect. There are several sections where you're traveling to a destination while characters have conversations with each other. Now, the conversations themselves are actually interesting, and they do add a lot to the story and world building. The problem is that some of these sections go on for so long that I found myself wanting to just arrive at the destination and get back into the gameplay. The game definitely takes its time building the story, and for me it wasn't until around chapter 6 that things really started to pick up gameplay wise. The early chapters felt a little like an extended tutorial, setting up the world and introducing characters. Once I got past that point, the game really started to shine, and I became much more invested in everything that was happening. Now, let's talk about that gameplay a little bit more. One area that didn't really work for me was the stealth system. The first thing I did was turn off the X-ray vision option. Personally, I've never been a fan of X-ray vision in stealth games. I feel like it removes a lot of tension and surprise. For me, stealth should be about listening for footsteps, paying attention to enemy conversations, and dealing with those unexpected moments when you accidentally get spotted. Those "oh no" moments are what make stealth exciting. Unfortunately, even with X-ray vision disabled, I wasn't very impressed with the enemy AI during stealth missions. There were multiple occasions where I could knock out an enemy right in front of another guard and nobody would react because I wasn't technically inside the detection range. To me, if I can clearly see an enemy, there should at least be a chance that they can see me too. The distraction mechanics also felt a bit too predictable. You can throw bottles or coins to lure enemies away, but often the same guard would continue investigating one sound after another without becoming truly suspicious or calling for backup. After a while, it started to feel less like I was outsmarting intelligent enemies, and more like I was exploiting simple AI behavior. Honestly, I don't think the game needed stealth missions at all. The story, action, and atmosphere were strong enough to carry the experience without them. Maybe if I improved the stealth AI a little bit, it could have been more enjoyable, but for me, it spoiled the game a little. Moving on to the driving and horse riding, I actually enjoyed both. The cars can be a little slippery at high speeds, and is surprisingly easy to end up doing accidental 180-degree turn when trying to take a corner too fast. But despite that, I found driving enjoyable throughout the game, and you have a selection of cars to choose from. The horse riding was also fun, and served a different purpose. Horses could travel through trees, rough terrain, and smaller paths that cars simply could not access. One small issue I had was timing the horse sprint. I sometimes found myself counting the seconds before activating it again, because there wasn't always a clear sound cue for exactly when it ended. The shooting mechanics were another highlight for me. In fact, they reminded me of the older Mafia games I used to play years ago. There was definitely a sense of nostalgia whenever I got into a gunfight, and I found the combat satisfying throughout the game. The knife fights were also a nice addition. They fit well with the historical setting and helped make the game feel authentic to the time period it portrays. Now, let's talk about the visuals and voice acting. Visually, the game is absolutely stunning. There were multiple moments where I found myself stopping just to admire the scenery, whether it was watching the sunset, looking across the sea at the boats, or simply taking in the environment around me. The game does an incredible job of bringing its world to life. The graphics are generally impressive and help create a strong sense of immersion throughout the entire experience. As for voice acting, it was exceptional from start to finish. Every major character felt believable, and the performances helped bring the story to life. Combined with the visuals, the voice acting played a huge role in keeping me invested in the world and the people around me. One thing I really appreciated was how almost every mission felt like it had a purpose. The missions weren't just random tasks to fill time. Most of them contributed something meaningful to the overall story and helped build the world and characters. There were also several moments throughout the game that genuinely surprised me. Don't worry, I won't spoil any of them, but there were definitely a few missions that stood out and reminded me why I enjoy story-driven games so much. And my answer is yes, absolutely. If you're looking for a story-focused experience with great voice acting, beautiful visuals, memorable moments, and a world that pulls you in, then I think this game is well worth your time. It isn't perfect, and some sections can feel slow, especially in the early chapters, but once the story gets going, it's a journey that kept me coming back to see what would happen next. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed my very first review, and I hope you found it very valuable. Please subscribe and hit that bell notification for any future videos. Thank you. See you in the next one. Bye.